Am I sharing my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Let's get this done. Hello, welcome to the Tampa Bay IIBA chapter. Today is May 15th, 2025. This is our 164th weekly class. Today we have the pleasure of having Stefani Havel teach us about enhancing workplace communication with emotional intelligence and the DISC training. My name is Thea Soren. I'm the president of this IIBA chapter. I've been a business analyst for almost 30 years, and along the way, I've led IIBA chapters for almost half of that time. I have had the pleasure of being one of the authors of the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge 3.0, among others, and founded a few organizations, including the BA Force Multiplier Movement. I'm also a business consultant, trainer, mentor, and coach working worldwide. For those of you who are new to the IIBA, the International Institute of Business Analysis is the global governing body for business analysts. With about 30,000 members, 120 chapters worldwide, and 7 certifications, we are excited about making the world better, one business, one project, and one life after another. What are the benefits of joining the IIBA? You receive training from chapters around the world, free access to over 11,000 excellent books, including the IIBA's BABOK, webinars, and more. You have networking opportunities in a wide variety of formats and discounts on our certification exams. I told you that the IIBA has 120 chapters worldwide. This is our Tampa Bay, Florida chapter, and this is our board. These are the folks who work behind the scenes for your benefit. We appreciate them working so diligently to keep us going. Our chapter strives to build a thriving community of empowered business analysts. Members of the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter are not limited to those who live in the state of Florida. In fact, our members live all over the world. If you do not have an IIBA chapter, the Tampa Bay could be your chapter. If you want to join us, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Why would you choose to join the Tampa Bay chapter? We offer multiple training sessions each week, including CBAP prep, all to benefit our participants becoming better, more impacted business analysts. You can see our upcoming events at our website and the updates posted across LinkedIn and Facebook. You can also access over 150 hours of our events on YouTube. Again, you can get these indexes through Bob's amazing index at rpchurchill.com. Thanks to Bob Churchill. The results of these trainings have resulted in these wonderful folks, students of those classes, reaching out to tell us that our training was a big part of their success in achieving their certification. Many of them further demonstrated how much they value the training as they have gone on to lead IIBA chapters here and around the world. I look forward to figuring out how we will add the current class to this wall of certification. And they send us these wonderful notes that say we were important to them. This is honestly how we get paid. We don't get money for this. We are here every single week, but how we get paid is you, our participants, reaching out to let us know that we had a positive impact on you. So if you'd like to send us a note, let me know. As we continue to work for our community, we've created support for college students, emerging professionals. We want to help them to graduate college with not only a college degree, but also a membership in a professional organization, the IIBA, a professional certification from the governing body for business analysts, and maybe more. You can reach out to Kennedy Davis, our Director of Emerging Professionals, for more information. Those of you who do live in Florida, if you wish to meet with other business analysts in real life, reach out to me so we can begin a chapter branch near you. In working to enlarge the education of our community, we've partnered with many people, but the most important is you, our participants, members, and those who participate with our chapter. We're partnered with over a dozen other IIBA chapters worldwide and 2 chapters who are just forming in Houston and Oklahoma City. Reach out to me if you want contact with any of these chapters. We've also partnered with other organizations in the Tampa Bay area and around the world. Our goal, as always, is to elevate our BA community. We partnered with several recruiting services and training companies for your benefit. The benefit of those partners and associations include discounts to our participants. Watermark Learning offers you a 40% discount using this code. Adaptive US offers a 20% discount on all of their live classes and on-demand courses, excluding the IIBA exam vouchers. Adaptive US believes so strongly in the value of their training that they will say if you go through their CBAP training, if you failed the first time you take the test, they will pay for you to take it a second time and continue to help you. And if you fail the second time, they will pay for you to take it one more time. That's a lot of belief in the efficiency and effectiveness of their training. I told you last couple of weeks that the European Business Analysis Day was coming up. It has now passed, but we did make a presentation about the value and measuring the value of business analysis in all industries, and that went out today. For IIBA News, I've got some information for you. If you are interested in the ECBA is the entry-level business analysis certification. It's going to be changing. It's going to be getting a little bit harder beginning July 22nd. I encourage you, if you're going to take it, go ahead and take it before then. If you take it after then, as I said, it's just going to be a little bit harder. For the other two certifications out of the BABOK, the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge, until the end of this month, half a month left, you get a $50 discount for if you're a member of the IIBA, which means that your $145 application fee goes down to $95. We know that there are jobs out there, and we know where the talent is. If you want to reach out to me, I will play matchmaker and get you qualified individuals to your desk. This has been successful for a few people so far. I'm looking forward to seeing what else we can do. To do something tangible to help our community find the jobs, I created an open group on LinkedIn. I post jobs here daily from my network of 15,000 connections as well as emails. You are invited to post jobs that you see as well as peruse as you wish. But spread the word. We want to help as many people as possible. Today we have Stefani Havel talking about enhancing workplace communication with emotional intelligence and DISC. I'm looking forward to this because I think it's very important that we not only understand ourselves, but it helps us also to understand other people and figure out how to bridge the differences. Next week, we have Dr. Tracy Edwards going to talk about continual career improvement. Tracy is the founder and owner of the Traceability podcast. She was the very first person who ever asked me to be interviewed on a podcast and showed me that I can reach out and help other people. She's gone on to earn her doctorate just recently, and she coaches and does fractional business analysis all over the world. David Verbeck is going to come in and talk about the last 20 years of business analysis and things that he's found that have been very impactful in his practice of business analysis. So those of you who have not had exactly the same experiences as he has, maybe he can give you some information you don't yet have. Irina is going to come and talk to us about regulatory. She works in software development for medical professionals, hugely, highly regulated. And she is one of our chapter participants here. I'm looking forward to this talk. Barb Monson is going to come to us on June 12th and talk about chameleons and peacocks. Do you blend in at work or do you stand out? And what to do if you want to do a little bit more of the other, and what are the benefits of each? Heath Rust is going to talk to us in June 19th on creating significance, workplaces that make people feel essential. I saw Heath at a local tech conference and I asked him to come talk to us because his talk was so impactful. He had people there that had not worked for him and his team for 5 years, and they were still mad about it because he had been taken away from them. And then we have Joel coming in. He's going to talk about leveraging risk management. Risk management is highly talked about. I mean, we need to be talking about it a whole lot more. So I'm excited about his talk. In the months of August and September, we have 4 different meetings. We are going to create a situation where we're going to walk through software development lifecycle. We are going to do a real project. Those people who don't have SDLC experience will have SDLC experience, at least understanding by the time we get finished with that. Now I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie and let her have the screen.
All right, thank you, Thea. All right, let's get this going here. Thanks for having me. Nice to see or be here with all of you. Get this, share my screen. Okay, and you can see my screen okay?
We can.
All right, so, all right, okay, see why it's not advancing here. What is going on? Okay. All right, so looking at this picture, I'm sure it's a picture many of you have seen before, right? The iceberg. And so what the top of the surface of the iceberg is, are the words that we say. And then what's below, that's everything else. So your tone, your emotion, biases, history, assumptions, and all of our conversations, what we say is actually only a fraction of what is received. And that's why there's often breakdowns in communication. So oftentimes when we're talking or we're presenting or we're rolling something out, we think we're very clear, precise, efficient. But then oftentimes the person on the other end isn't quite hearing that, or they're hearing something completely different. And that's because what's below their surface. So we're going to talk a lot tonight about clarity in your conversations and clarity in making your connections. And I'm going to give you some tools and resources to help you navigate all of those things below the surface. And then once you're able to, recognize what's happening in yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, your communication, you're going to be able to communicate more clearly with others. And what that's going to do is going to build a lot of trust and gain more understanding. And it's what we call emotional intelligence and DISC. And I'm going to talk about both of them tonight, because when you combine them, that's going to help you start connecting with intention. Okay, so, all right, so here's me. So I spent over 25 years in the corporate sector, mostly in the banking, retail banking, mortgage finance sector. And I led a lot of high performance sales teams, also was responsible for navigating some friendly but sometimes complicated relationships with operations teams. And I'm also certified in the DISC and emotional intelligence frameworks. And I've trained over my years, I've trained thousands of professionals in how to communicate better, how to lead with confidence, and build trust that actually sticks. And I know that these tools work. I've had experience. I actually had a lot of experience with them early on in my career. When I was in retail banking, I was assigned to take over a bank just after 2 weeks on the job, where the bank manager had manipulated a new hire to give her the codes to the vault. She robbed the bank and took off to Vegas. So I've seen my share of incidents and had to deal with many situations in my 25-year career. And that's where I'm going to share some of those stories with you and ideas on how I navigated those. And why all of these skills really matter in helping you succeed. And it's really about connection. And I missed who you said, Thea, that person's name, where everybody's mad that he left, because I'm guessing he was somebody that was really strong in emotional intelligence. And we're going to talk about that too, about why people leave a manager versus a company. So, but again, if you don't have the skills, it doesn't matter. If you can't connect with people, none of it's going to work. So I'm going to teach you some ways that we can fix that. I've tailored my presentation tonight for all levels. So if you are newer, just graduating, you're newer to the profession of the corporate world, or maybe you're a seasoned professional, a seasoned veteran, and you're just looking to level up your interpersonal skills, you are going to gain something with this. And you're going to get some tools on how to influence, regardless of your title. All right, so I want you to think back to somebody that was maybe the most influential leader that you've ever had. Or maybe it was a mentor or somebody in your family. For me, it's my dad, that's my pops, right? And what makes them influential? So it's not just about, their credentials or anything. But how well they knew how to bring out the best in you, right? They knew a way, they knew your skills, they knew how to bring you to the very best version of you. And it wasn't that they were, had all this charisma, or they had all, they could name all the acronyms, in the company acronyms. It was really about emotional intelligence. And that's emotional intelligence is the great thing about it is a skill that you can build starting today. And we could talk about those leaders too if you have some time, but it's really great just to think about it, because these are people. I was fortunate to have a dad who shaped my emotional intelligence early on in my career. All right, so some of the takeaways that you're going to get tonight. Well, first, sorry, I want to back up. I want to say something like thinking about your skills is having this emotional intelligence is more than just having skills. And but it's understanding people's communication style. So not only how their emotions relate, but how they like to be communicated to. And oftentimes I say it's not your skills that are failing you, it's the delivery of the message that's not hitting right with people. And I like to say, yelling at Karen in accounting really isn't going to work anymore. Okay. So some of the key takeaways that we're going to have tonight. So one, I'm going to teach you about the 4 behavior models of the DISC framework. We're going to understand the 5 components of emotional intelligence. And then also just some simple tips on how to adjust when you speak and listen when you're dealing with different kinds of people. And then understanding others clearly. So even if they act or think differently than you're going to have a much better understanding of what's going on. And then you can proactively manage any of those workplace conflicts and improve your outcomes. And when you combine DISC with the emotional intelligence, that's where you're going to have just a lot better actions. You're going to have better influence, more trust, and better leadership. And I also want to share too, so if I know we've got the time here, but if at any time something resonates with you, if you're not able to stay to the end of the call, my website is the salesstrategynetwork.com, and I do have some resources there for you that you can download, or if you want, to talk further about this, you can schedule an appointment with me there. And then I'll also have my LinkedIn information, but I have a lot of resources for you, and the easiest way to get them is just at the salesstrategynetwork.com. All right, so yeah, here's that diagram where you have the emotional intelligence and DISC combined. Really helps with influence, trust, and leadership. Now, I love this statistic. So according to SHRM, and that's the Society of Human Resource Management, so the human resource professionals across the world, they did a survey and they found that 86% of workplace failures are due to miscommunication. So I think about that, think that's an astounding number when it's breaking down. And I hear it so often when I'm talking to people about sales, or they're coming to me and saying things aren't working right, or leaders are frustrated, or there's been changes in the organization. The whole time, it really is, when I'm listening to them talk and finding out, when I talk to the employees, we do the training, a lot of it is coming down to there's miscommunication. And so thinking about this, when I heard this survey and I got this information, I decided to do a poll with my LinkedIn followers. And I'm like Thea, I have a large following. I have almost 20,000 followers. So I got a good sampling here. And the question was, yes or no, people leave a manager and not a company. And out of all the respondents, 96% of people said yes. So that's astounding. So, I want to think about that and kind of let that sink in a little bit. It's not budgets, it's not the technology, it's not lack of talent or communication, the lack of it. And that's what's sinking projects, breaking the trust, and causing a lot of teams to spiral and not be productive. And so this is what I talk about too, is leaders and teams, it's not that they're lacking knowledge, it's that they're lacking connection. And no amount of process or systems you have is going to save you. Okay. Employees want to feel heard. They want to feel valued. They want that clear communication. And And so again, it just goes back to, and like even that guy that Thea mentioned early on, people, think about that. They're leaving their manager, not the company. They might have a great salary, the technology, the products, the programs, they're all great. They love the snacks, they love the holiday parties and the turkey on Thanksgiving, but that's still not enough. If they're not feeling connected with their manager, they don't feel seen, they don't feel valued, they don't feel heard, they're out of there. And so those statistics really tell us two really clear things: that it's not just about being smart or, having all the accolades. It's about being emotionally intelligent. And if you can't communicate clearly, empathetically, and with a purpose, then it doesn't matter what strategies or systems you have, you're going to lose them. It's not going to be effective. Okay, so now I want to do a poll here. It didn't work for me to have it on screen. So I'm going to pull it up here a second. And so it's about communication challenges. So you can just answer 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you can put that in the chat, okay? Or can you see the screen? Can you see the survey on my screen? No, okay.
No.
Okay, so let me see if I do a stop share and then a share again. Okay. Can you see that now, the multiple choice?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you can just answer 1, 2, 3, or 4. So what would you say, for those of you here, what is your biggest communication challenge at work? Is it 1, trying to influence across a lot of teams without having to pull rank? Like, okay, I'm this leader, this is why you have to do it. Managing conflict without making it worse or weird. Adapting your message for different personalities or styles. Or knowing that you said the right thing, but they heard something else. So if you want to just go ahead and type in the chat and just share with me, what do you think one of your biggest communication challenges is at work?
It looks like you've got 3s and 4s being the number 1.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to okay, so adapting your message to different personality styles and feeling misunderstood when you thought you were clear. Is that right, Thea, the 3s and the 4s?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, awesome, thank you. Okay, so again, that's really important, and I appreciate you sharing your feedback, because that also helps me in my research, but also will just help you throughout this presentation, just to kind of be aware. So I want to share a quick story with you, and really how I also had to learn how to adapt my communication style to my employees. So when I was in the mortgage team, this was probably about 10 years ago, we had rolled out a new software program. And it was going to be mandated from the company, but there was a little few kinks that we had to work out. But they said, all right, as a management leadership, you need to get behind this and you need to enforce it. Everybody's got to use it. We've got to get on plan with this new system. Okay. Well, it was also a time when a lot of our teams were getting reallocated and moving to different managers and different departments and so forth. And I had somebody that was reallocated to my team, and he was not going to adapt to this new system. He was like, we don't need it. Everything we had before is working just fine. I don't get it. Why are they making us use this new system? This is so frustrating. I'm not on board with it. And I was like, okay, this is going to be great, because I had seen the rollout. I knew how awesome this program was going to be and how much easier it was going to be for us to take an application, track customer data, get all the information. And so I had to stop and think for a minute, like, we talk about it in the meeting, and it was always like, whatever, I'm not doing it. He was very resistant, shaking his head, super crappy about it. And so, it didn't matter, how much enthusiasm, how much excitement I shared with him around it. What I had to realize is I had to stop for a minute and ask him. And I said, his name was Mike. And I said, Mike, what do you need from me to support you in this change? What are you looking for? What do you need from me? And it was just that moment, just that one question. And again, what he said is, it was like, he didn't want all the enthusiasm. He just wanted the facts and the data. He was a very high C in the behavior style, in the DISC model, which is very analytical, logical thought process. So while I was like, oh, this is going to be great, it's going to be easy, it's going to be fun, he wanted more details from me. He said, I want to know, okay, why is this going to be so easy? Why is this going to be so much fun? I'm not getting it. But when I did that, I asked, what do you need from me? His next couple appointments, I went to his office and I just sat there with him, and I sat in the next cube and I said, okay, do an application. I'll be right here. If you have any questions or you get hung up or anything like that, I'm here for you. And it was right there when I just kind of sat with him, and then he realized, like, wow, okay, this is really good stuff. Everything clicked. He actually sent an email to the entire team and to our senior leadership, like, hey, everybody, this is the greatest program. We got to all get on board. I literally about fell off my chair. I'm like, I got to frame this email here because it was like so surprising. But it took me to adapt my communication style, because I was the high I, which we're going to kind of get into the styles here now. I was the high I. I was all about the enthusiasm and the fun and making it easy. He needed data, facts, logics. Give me some proof. Give me some strategies on how I can use this. And so that's what we're going to talk a little bit more to then. It's just really, how do you adapt to those different behavior styles? So we're going to talk about them here, and I want you to really think about it and maybe kind of make some notes and see if you haven't taken a DISC assessment before, if you know what your style is. So first of all, there's that D, dominant style. I is the influence style. S is steadiness, and C is conscientious. Okay. Now, the D person, they are very direct, results driven, and they focus on efficiency. They want you to get to the bottom line. They want you to get to the point quickly. These people tend to ask a lot of what questions. What are going to be the results? What is the outcome of this project? What do you need? What do we need to do to get this done? If you have this, and we know some of these people, right? My previous boss was such a high D. When he would text me, Havel, my last name, please call. It would be PLZ, call. He was so direct, he couldn't even spell out the word please, okay? So very direct and to the point. And ask what. So, even reading emails, listening to them on the phone, you're just gonna hear them. That's just natural words that natural way they're gonna start their questions is what. The I, the influence style. Now these people are very outgoing, enthusiastic. They love building relationships, and they're drawn to the enthusiasm, the excitement. They respond well to stories and emotional connections, and they ask who questions. Now, this is my style, and if you can tell from that, previous example, with Mike, is I was all about the excitement, who's using it? Everybody's using this. I was telling stories. That's how I relate, is I like to know stories. Who else is using this product? Who else has had success with this rollout? I want to know. And then there's the S, the steadiness. Now, these people are very loyal and supportive. Their personalities, they really value trust and consistency. And they don't like a hard pressure approach. They like time to process information. And they'll ask how questions. As it how will this benefit me? How is this going to work for everyone on the team? They often want to make sure that everyone else is taken care of. And then the C, the conscientious style. Now, these are very analytical, detail-oriented, very conscientious. They want data, proof. They value precision. And they ask a lot of questions, and they want thorough answers. So back to my example with Mike, I wasn't giving him, why should he roll out this program? I said, well, it's going to really enhance your CRM system. It's going to make it easier for you to follow up with your clients, track your progress, calculate numbers. When I started showing him all the data and the logistics of how well this program was going to benefit him, that's when he was all on board. Okay. So this is where you want to think about and be able to adapt your style to them. And sometimes it's not easy, and it's not about being fake. I don't know how to be anything else but high energy, but could I deliver the high energy in an analytical and data proven way? Yes. I said, okay, I'm coming to your office. I'm going to sit right next to you. I'll bring some cupcakes and we're going to go through it. And I still explained everything to him, which is fine. So that's where sometimes people might get it wrong, is they think, well, I don't want to be phony, or why should I have to change? And it's about adapting. You're going to hear me say that word a lot. It's about adapting to their style. And again, now this is a download that you can get at my site, thesalesstrategynetwork.com. And I'd love for you to go there and print this off. And I like to tell people, this is kind of a great guidebook for you, or a good placemat, Keep it on your mouse pad. And it's just a quick little snapshot of each style. But what I like about it, it says when you're trying to connect with that D style, right? Make efficient use of their time. They expect candor, right to the point. When a problem needs to be solved, they focus on the big picture and they want results. And then when things get tense, with that D style, it says avoid taking bluntness personally. Because the high I style, when my boss used to come at me with that hard directness, I used to think like for the first year that we worked together that he didn't like me because he was just like, Havel, I need this, and I need this. And when I started to understand oh, that's just who he is. And that's how I would just talk back to him. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, here's what I need. And look, I kind of had an emotional morning today, okay? There's a lot of stuff fell apart at the house this morning. I'm a little stressed out. Can you find one more feeling for me? And he would laugh. But when I spoke to him, when I just kind of went back at him and said, look, I'm feeling emotional. I need you to dig deep and find another feeling for me. He got it, right? He knew, okay, I gotta adapt. I gotta be a little bit softer with Steph, when I did with the other guys. Okay. So those are just some things when we talk about adapting your style. And so, I do want to stop because I know Thea, now there is a lot of different online tests out there that you can take. I offer a full analysis. So, there's different ones out there. People say, well, I took this test or I took that test, and I can't necessarily speak to, the outcome of other tests, but DISC has been around for over 140 years. And there are ways, I think Thea, the one you did, it'll talk about how you are naturally and then how you are in your adaptive style. And so you said, Thea, that you felt like the results that you got were pretty accurate when you took it?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So, and I suggested, I'm going to ask you guys to identify your style here in just a minute. But one thing that's kind of fun is even when you're on calls is, you can put your style on after your name on a Zoom call, maybe to help identify your style. But the assessment that I offer is it actually takes into DISC and it takes in emotional intelligence. It takes about 20 minutes. It's pretty thorough. It's a 28-page assessment, but it's really thorough, and it'll give you insights into your style, how to relate to other people's style, and then it also has emotional intelligence weaved into it. So again, what DISC does is it really just kind of helps you how to communicate with others. And I know there's a lot of different tests out there. People ask about strength finders and Enneagrams and Myers-Briggs. And again, I've taken a lot of them, but what DISC does is it really just helps you how to learn how to adapt your style to other people. So one of the things, and so you can adjust your communication, right? Just so there's examples like my boss would have to do, or I've had to do. And friends, this is very relative for your personal relationships as well. Oftentimes when I teach this class, there's always, the funny, the mumblings like, oh, my wife should be in this class, or I got to use this with my kids. And you can, because even kids, you're raised in the same household, same parents. I'm sure many of you can attribute, they might have different personality styles. I don't have kids, but I have nieces and nephews, and I can tell you, raised from the same parents, different personalities, different styles, right? So, but you can win once you have, once you start learning and adapting, you're going to have a lot more success and influence with your team. And so I encourage you to think about it as well. The next time you have to go into a meeting, whether it's a one-on-one meeting, a group meeting, or, just even with your family. Oftentimes I ask people, how many of you in sales? We should all be raising our hands. We're all in sales, because maybe you just need to sell your partner or your kids on where you want to go to dinner or where you want to go on vacation, right? And so thinking about that, if you're going to go out to dinner, the D person's like, I don't care, just pick somewhere. The I person will like, oh, well, we could go here. It's fun. They have good music. And, I like their margaritas. And the S person is like, well, I'm good with where everybody wants to go. It's fine with me, and that C person will be like, well, I don't know. I think their drinks are kind of expensive, but they got happy hour. And I don't know, they put cilantro in their nachos, right? So it's true. So before you have to go in to sell somebody, right, to make a decision, think about what their behavior style is and then adapt. So if I'm talking to a C person and I want them to go to my Mexican restaurant and be like, oh, it's great. They don't use cilantro in their salsa. It's happy hour from 4 to 6. We've got a coupon for a 2-for-1 dinner, and it's only going to take us about 8 minutes to get there. And I can actually make a reservation. Sold. Okay. If I said, oh my gosh, it's super fun, they got like a mariachi band playing, and I know Mark and Susie will probably be there, they'll be like, you know, they're going to have a lot of questions. And then I'm going to get frustrated, like, oh, well, why can't you just decide? Right. So it's really helpful when you try to think about it before you have to have that conversation, to think about what their style is. And then once you start doing it, you'll just get used to it. It'll become second nature for you. All right. So now I just like to take a poll, and I'd like to see, based on this information. Now I want to preface this. You are a blend of all 4 styles. Okay. But when you take an assessment, you'll either come out with either 1 style or 2 styles will be dominant. And again, it's really, how do you feel naturally? Okay. I worked in banking and finance for 25 years. Of course, I had to be conscientious, analytical, data driven, but probably unlike most of you, I was like, poke 2 needles in my eyes if I have to do a graph or a chart or spreadsheets or analytics. Oh, it's just not my thing. Can I do it? Of course. Do I like it though? No, not really. So my style is I. So I want you to think about it. And if you type in the chat, now again, you can be, there's actually 12 styles in a full disc assessment that I offer. So you could be, you know, clockwise, you could be a DI, an IS, an SC, or a CD, or you could be a DC, CS, SI, or ID. And the first letter is just what is you're more dominant in. But the I and the C and the D and the S, those are opposites. So you're not really going to see somebody with those styles. So if you want to just go ahead and type in the chat, let's see what we got. How would you rate yourself? What style do you think you are? So Thea, you said a SI. Let's see, Bonnie, you said a CD. All right, I love it. I can't, I'm not seeing this.
CID.
Yeah.
I got issues.
Who said that, Bonnie? What'd you
This
say?
is Bonnie.
Oh, a CI and a D? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I will tell you, Bonnie, thanks for sharing that. There are a few, very few outliers who do have a dot close to the center. It's pretty rare. And I love it. I'm seeing a lot of C.
I have to take this assessment, Dr.
Okay,
Stefani.
CI,
I have to take
you
it.
guys are throwing me for loops here. C and I are complete opposites. All right. So yeah, it is fun to see, you know, to see where you rank in it. And so you just want to kind of think about it, you know, direct, would you say you're direct and straight to the point? That's a D. I, social and outgoing. S, steady and dependable. Or 4, cautious and perfectly accurate. Those are just kind of some quick ways to remember it. Okay, so yeah, and again, you can reach out to me and we can talk about doing an assessment, and there's a whole online portal. And okay, for some reason my screen is very slow to advance. Okay, so now we're going to get into emotional intelligence. All right, so emotional intelligence really is the foundation for great leadership. And what it does is it allows you to influence without authority and lead diverse teams differently. So when you can see here in your group, a lot of different styles. I would expect in this group to see a lot of you in that C style or the D style, because you're dealing with data, you're dealing with analytics, right? And that's where your strength is. And that's why that style suits you well. I would not do well in a job where I had to work, what's the word I'm looking for? Autonomously, like work alone. I work from home and I do live alone. I don't got pets, kids, nobody here, just me. And I go stir crazy. Like I've got to be on a call with people. I got to go out. I don't care if I got to go drive to the drugstore and pick something up. I go for a walk. I'm a very social person. I thrive on being around other people and collaborating. So, all right, well, I'm waiting for my slides to advance. We're going to just talk about the 5 components of emotional intelligence. So what emotional intelligence is now is that's your ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, and then be able to recognize it in others so you can better respond instead of react, right? And so just your ability to manage your emotions. Okay, this is really driving me crazy here. All right, so the first one, hopefully it'll catch up my slides. The first component of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, okay? And self-awareness is knowing your emotions while you're experiencing them, okay? Not 3 hours later when you're on that therapy walk, crossing with a beer or a glass of wine or something like that, right? It could be a situation where maybe you're in a meeting, right? And you're talking about it and you're just rolling out this program. You have a great idea. And then somebody challenges you like, hey, no, that doesn't sound right. Your data's off. Nope, that's wrong. And all of a sudden we kind of like, we feel a little taken back, right? And maybe not because they're wrong, but we just weren't expecting that challenge. So that's where it's kind of like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that emotion. And so instead of, being aware of what's causing me to get upset right now, okay, it's because they challenged me. And one of the things I like to say about self-awareness is you can't manage what you don't notice, right? So it's just being aware, like, ooh, I'm getting a little upset here when somebody challenges me in a meeting, when I'm rolling out a program. Why does that bother me, right? We have to think about those kinds of things, okay? Then the next one is self-regulation. Okay, now self-regulation is the ability to manage and control your impulses and reactions. So you respond and not explode. Okay, so you might get an aggressive email and you're ready to just like fire right back at them, right? You're like, okay, well, I'm going to say this and this and this. Self-regulation is, take a pause, read the email, take it in. Maybe you need to get up, go get a drink of water, walk around your desk, maybe go to lunch. Come back, take a look at it. Maybe you need to delete that passive aggressive paragraph in there, right? But just take some time to think about it before you send it. So again, regulating your emotions before we're ready to pounce on somebody. Take a deep breath, think about it, and then be able to respond. And again, sometimes I get it. We're intense, fast-paced, moving situations. When I was in finance, sometimes we're dealing with people moving and things. It's a very time sensitive industry and we had to make decisions quickly, but you still can just take a quick pause to make sure that you are thinking about what you're saying. Okay, then the third one is motivation. And this is your ability to stay driven, stay focused and positive, even when things don't go your way. Okay, we've had this happen all the time, personally and professionally. I've always worked in sales. We get all excited. I know a lot of people, they spend their commission checks before the sales even closed. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, something happens. It doesn't close. Somebody makes a mistake. Somebody screws up, or we've rolled out a big project and we're super excited and all of a sudden a snag hits. And now we're going to be set back. We've had a technology glitch like I'm having right now. Right? But how do we stay motivated during all that? We just realize like, okay, you know what? Life happens, right? We're going to be able to get through it. In sales, I used to say, some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? Okay. So that's what, but motivation fuels your resilience. When you can learn to just bounce back and really realize, take a deep breath that, you know what? Sometimes things just don't go as planned. But you don't want to lose your motivation and, fall off plan. Okay. Then the fourth component is empathy. The fourth component of emotional intelligence is empathy. And that's understanding what others are feeling, even when they don't say it out loud. So you might be in a meeting and, somebody's normally super talkative. They've always got a joke to tell or something, and they're being a little quiet, right? You might want to be able to just something after the call saying, hey, you know what, Mary, it seemed like you're a little off today. Is everything okay? Just really checking in when you notice that people aren't their true selves. Maybe just try to figure it out. Maybe they just got a poor diagnosis, or, they got a bill in the mail they weren't expecting, or something happened with their car or their kids. So just being able to recognize what's going on with other people and open up that opportunity to share. And then the fifth component is social skills. And that's communicating and connecting with others across all different styles, levels, egos, everything. So an example of social skills, like maybe you have to deliver some feedback. Maybe it's positive, maybe it's not so positive, right? If it's not so positive, maybe it's a difficult conversation. Instead of just going in and dropping the bomb like, yeah, you haven't been performing, you're getting a 1 out of 5 on this rating today, I'm just telling you. Might be a way just to kind of soften it up a little bit, start focusing on some of the things that they're doing good, and then kind of get into things that are not so good. And I forget what the acronym is. I should know because I worked at the King of Acronyms company. But it's like a sandwich, right? You give a positive thing and then you have to, I think they call it a PIP. Positive, insult, and then positive. And I shouldn't say insult because that's not the right word either. But you kind of sandwich it to make it a little easier. So Okay, I don't know why. So my next question is, out of those 5 components, I'm just curious to say, which one do you feel the strongest in? Okay, so we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So number 1 was self-awareness, being aware of your emotions. 2 was self-regulation, like you're good at, when you're getting upset, you're able to kind of regulate your emotions. Number 3 was motivation, staying motivated when things go sideways. 4 was empathy, being able to empathize with other people. And then 5 was social skills. So which one of those do you feel that you're the strongest in?
We only have 3 votes so far. I hope everyone else leans in.
Yeah, and that's why I apologize, because sometimes it's kind of fun, and it's okay. There's no shame in anything. There's no right or wrong answers. Maybe you're like, I don't know, I don't feel good about any of them. Maybe you feel good about all of them, right? It's just really, I just like to get a pulse on what we. There we go. Where everybody's at with it. So here's the thing I like to say though. So emotional intelligence and DISC. It's like a pair of glasses, right? So DISC is the one lens where you can see other people's behavior styles, your styles or preferences, how they like to communicate. And then emotional intelligence is, the other person's managing reactions to other people's behaviors or your emotions and your triggers. So they're both a little bit different, but together they can really help you manage, help you with your influence and your leadership skills, and just really see the whole picture. So again, just another resource I have for you here is this just kind of talks about the 4 different styles and kind of blends the 2 of them together. So the D dominant style, they're fast, straight to the point, they take charge, but their blind spot is they might overlook emotions. Okay, the story back to my boss, how he kind of sometimes didn't always understand that I needed a few more feelings. The I style, their influence are energetic, they like to build enthusiasm, but they don't like conflict. And I will attest to this 100%. I didn't like it when I had to have those hard conversations. That's hard for me to have those. The S, they're calm, they're loyal, they're supportive, they're dependable, but they don't like change. When somebody says, we got to have a meeting, things are changing, it's like, it doesn't sit well with them. They don't like it. And then C, conscientious. They're analytical, detail focused, they're very precise, but they sometimes might seem cold or detached. So Thea and I were having a conversation before we started, is sometimes these people are overlooked in meetings. And if this is you, you tend to don't always speak up in meetings because you want to think things through or sit back a little bit. That's where you need to say, you know what, I do have some thoughts on this, but can I get back to you later this afternoon? Or can I send you my ideas tomorrow? So let that person know that you do have some thoughts and ideas, but you just like time to process it. And that's where, again, that communication is going to be so critical, because I can tell you, this is a blind spot for a lot of leaders that are that D and I style. We tend to just focus on the people that are quick to make a decision and speak up, and then we wonder why Mike and Mary have nothing to say. And we think, well, what's their problem? Don't they care? They checked out, they thinking about something else? No, they're just thinking, they're processing the information. So really, really important to understand that. So this here too, I just kind of give an example. Like if you're in a meeting, the D person, they're going to come in and they're already going to have the agenda read. They're going to already have it read in order to look at all the project before before the meeting even starts. Okay. And then the I person, they'll walk into the meeting telling you about their weekend and their dog, what's happening on Netflix. And, they probably even brought snacks for everybody. The S person, they are, they probably print out a couple agendas just in case somebody forgot theirs. Before they say anything, they're going to check around and make sure, does everybody else get a chance to talk? And the C person, they've already analyzed the agenda, the data, and they're sitting there wondering, geez, why isn't anybody else prepared for this meeting? Okay, so you might be able to just even pick out some of those styles in your next meeting. So this is one way I like to talk about it or kind of share is smile like everyone is an I, care like everyone is an S, prepare like everyone is a C, and sell like everyone is a D. So just kind of a fun another analogy to remember things. All right, so again, Emotional intelligence and DISC together is really what helps you connect. And I like to use this, being a chameleon. It's about adaptability. Um, Adaptability in your conversations. Because when people feel respected, they feel valued and heard, you're going to just make so many more strides in leadership. And I think it'd be interesting, not to keep going back to that guy, but, what made him such a great leader that made people upset as to why he left, right? And the responses people would probably give is, he just got me. He understood me. He explained things to me. He let me do things my way, right? Within reason, right? So those are some things that you can think about when you're blending emotional intelligence and DISC together. So again, just having those conversations. And again, people, it's not that they're resisting the information, but oftentimes it's they're resisting the delivery of the information. It's the way it was said, it was the way it was rolled out. And working in corporate and having a lot of corporate clients, I know that this is a big misfire. Companies, I worked for a very large Fortune 500 bank, and there'd be like a news article coming out, and like we'd all of a sudden get an email, and then 1 minute later, well, it's already on the newswire. Like, wow, they were very good at prepping it. And then all of a sudden our phones are ringing off the hook going, oh my God, what's happening at your company? I can't believe this has happened. It's like, ugh. We didn't even have time to prepare for it. I just got the email and it hit the newsstands at the same time. Like, they didn't even give us any time to prepare. And then we're getting calls and reporters with microphones in our faces and, all that kind of stuff. So really how you deliver a message when you got to roll out a change or anything is so important. And again, just, listen with the intention to understand, not to respond. And I can tell you, if you're in a relationship, this is super important to be able to listen without having to respond. And again, as leaders, you might be talking to people and they're going to say, well, that's not how I read it. That's not how I interpreted it. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Tell me, how did that conversation feel for you? Tell me what your feedback was. What were your thoughts on it, right? So I have those conversations with your employees. Because again, people are hearing things in all different ways. Everybody has different preferences. And I say too, it's not about manipulation. It's about translation, speaking their language. And I think that's one of a key takeaway is just really, be able to speak their language. And then teams who talk about how they work just work better, right? When people say, I like to work alone. I like to figure out the data. I like to read my things and look it over before I send you the presentation. Me, I like collaboration. I want to, I like to talk to others on the project before I turn mine in. Understand what is their preference. Do they want autonomy? Do they want to work in groups? Do they want to analyze the data? Do they want more of the fun? But really understanding what their preferences are. And again, when you speak your language, you're just going to have a lot more influence. So I just want to be conscious of our time. But it's really great if you can adapt your, emotional intelligence, those dialogues, have those conversations, and just think about how much better your conversations could be when you start using DISC. This is just another resource. If you've ever heard of this guy, his name is Jefferson Fisher. He talks about communications. And then this Charles Duhigg wrote a book also on communication. So it's just a really great podcast if you want to go deeper, on communications, just from a different perspective. But they really do talk about emotional intelligence. And so this is just kind of a question I want you to think about, with your team. Where does your team or your organization need the help with most right now? Maybe is it better listening? Is it less communication breakdowns? Maybe you've got some great people coming up in the organization, but they just need some leadership development. Or maybe, they just need some tools on how to navigate those difficult conversations. So I just put in here, emotional intelligence and DISC, they're not soft skills, they're success skills. So I love it. I love doing trainings. If you're interested in hosting a DISC or emotional training with your team or your company, I'd love to do that. I do one-on-one sessions. I do coaching training one-on-one, but I love working with teams. I love being able to come into an organization or an association or a group and have some really good discussions. I mean, we're short on time. I mean, I could talk about this stuff for like 5 hours, right? And we could have all kinds of kumbaya and dig deeper and do our polls and anonymously. But anyways, I want you to just think about, like, when teams are really working together and communicating, just how much more effective you can be. right? And just thinking, and again, if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I forget who was it said earlier, Bonnie, I got to take this test. Or you're sitting here thinking, oh gosh, my boss needs this. My coworker needs to hear this, right? Just let me know. You can connect with me again on LinkedIn, or send me an email, go to my website, book some time on my calendar. But I'd love to connect with you. And again, if you just want to talk more through it, if you go to any one of these, that you can book time on my calendar, send me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn and say, hey, you know what, I took a test online, or I want to take a test. Can you administer a test to me? Sure. I'd love to talk to you about it. I do 30-minute consultations all the time, and you can have a little deeper dive into your style, and then talk about, emotional intelligence. So, whoo, there we go. We got 5 minutes. So, any questions or thoughts or feedback? I know I want to be conscious of your time. So if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear it. Or again, please reach out to me, because I haven't been able to look at the chat either. Thank you, Thea. You said you're a fan of it. And Tamara, I'm sorry, did I say it again? The 5 styles, my slides weren't advancing. So I apologize for that. And I can send this slide deck out to Thea if people want it. It's not proprietary or anything like that. You can certainly have a copy of it.
I think that there are several people that would appreciate receiving it. So Stephanie, if you want to send it to me, I'll make it available to anybody who asks. Stephanie, I'd like to ask you something. As business analysts, we often talk about current state and future state and projects, but I think for understanding personality, we need to talk about ourselves, understanding ourselves as current state, and then the other person as the thing we've got to bridge the gap to. That they're our future state, that we have to create our communication customized to the way they think, they understand, or if we don't help them understand, we're not communicating effectively. Do you agree with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. You're such a good student. It's understanding your style. How do you present? Like sometimes I'm too much. I was at an event and one woman said, I love your energy, but I could never work with you. You drive me nuts. You're too much for me. But I appreciated that. I said, well, I'm not like this 24/7, maybe 23/6, but yes, you have to understand that sometimes I have to realize I have to tone down my energy a little bit, be a little bit softer or more data analytical driven, so that the message hits home with them. So you're right. How are they hearing this and processing it and not taking it personal? Just knowing that this is how I deliver information, and sometimes it doesn't land well with everybody. But I can tell you, when I adapted, that's what made me successful in corporate America with my teams. Is that I was able to adapt my style and not take it personal, and just, okay, you need more data, you need more proof, fine, I can give it to you. Tell me what you need. Let's get out the graphs, the charts, the spreadsheets. Let's go through it, right? So
excellent.
That answers your question, yeah.
So Stephanie, how do we best understand what someone else's personality style is without saying take a test? Do we watch the way they behave? Watch the questions that they ask us?
Yes, good question, Thea, and I get that asked all the time. I think just to quickly summarize it, it's think about one. That's why knowing your own style is so good. But if they're very direct, you really want to just mirror them, right? So that's one of the things they even talk about in that podcast. So if somebody says, look, Thea, I just need to know the results. What are the results? What did you come up with? That's a high deep person. What you want to do is, okay, you want the results? Yes. Okay, I can get them for you. If somebody says, well, geez, who else was using this? What other kind of things did you look into? How did you arrive at this, right? They want more stories. That's that I style. So kind of mirroring them. If they're being very direct and to the point, just get direct and to the point with them right back. Again, that's not my style, but can I be short and to the point? Sure. I used to text my boss, hey, Dean, I need 3 things from you. Call me by 5 o'clock. Oh, you call me right away. Because I talked in his language. He didn't want to hear all the fluff. He didn't want to hear all the stories, just get right to the point, and we got things solved. I would call somebody else if I need a little bit of fluff, right? Just wasn't his style, but we worked really well together because if I wanted something from him and I needed it, I would just have to be really direct and to the point. Not to say that he couldn't have emotions with me, but if it was really important, I just had to get right to the point, and that's how I was going to get his buy-in. He trusted me. He didn't need all the stories, all the stuff. He just wanted the results and the outcome. He said, good, let's go with it, Havel. Let's run with it. So,
Very
but yes,
nice.
reach out to me. I'd love to talk more about it and answer more of your questions. Or if you want to, do a full assessment with emotional intelligence, I'd be happy to administer that with you.
Thank you. I've seen Stephanie all over LinkedIn as she puts out really, really good content that made me go, what? And so I really leaned in to see what she had. So I encourage you to find her there, contact her if you wish. Stephanie, thank you so much for bringing this good content to us today.
It's my pleasure.
Okay,
Thanks so
folks.
much for having you. Yes, and please connect with me on LinkedIn at a minimum. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll see y'all next week.
All right.
Bye, guys.